Welcome, Madam Auditor. She's on her way to Boston.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. There we go. We're all awake. It's great to be here with the Merrimack Valley Chamber of
Yay!
Commerce. It is truly an honor to be here today. I just wanted to get up and give some brief remarks and just say thank you for all that you do to the Chamber of Commerce. Thanks to all of those of you who partner with the Chamber for coming out today. And thanks especially to our mayors and town managers for all that you do in our communities. Yes, give a round of applause. We wanted to make sure we had a presence here this morning because in the state auditor's office, we actually have a unit specifically geared towards focusing on helping our cities and towns. It's called the Division of Local Mandates, and we work very closely with our mayors, with our town managers, and with all of you on making sure that the mandates that are coming down from state government are actually, that state government's actually able to be held accountable to all of you on those local mandates. So we are going to have a lot of interactions in the coming weeks and months, as we already have interactions. But I did want to come here this morning and just say a very brief thank you so much for your service, Lieutenant Governor. It is great to have you here and to call you Lieutenant Governor. And to everyone else here today, I do want to just extend an invitation. Please feel free, if you do not have my number already, which many of you I think already do have our number, but if you don't, we are going to leave some cards for our new office in the back on the table out front for you to pick up on your way out. If you want to be in touch with us, please feel free to give us a call at your convenience anytime if my office may assist you in any way. Thanks so much. Have a great morning.
Thank you, Madam Auditor.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. I'm Mike Bevilacqua, the Vice President of the Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank all of our mayors, our town managers, our Lieutenant Governor, our Auditor, all for being here this morning to speak with us, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your schedules to be here. I also want to thank our sponsors for this morning. Without our sponsors, we couldn't do what we do, so I want to thank all of our Government Affairs Series sponsors, including All Pro Electric, Covanta, EJ Paving, the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, National Grid, Pride Star Trinity EMS, Tech Inc. the Engineering Corp., and Unicare. So I just want to give them all a round of applause and say thank you.
Thank you. And we have some elected officials here. You met the new state auditor. We want to recognize our new district attorney, Paul Tucker, is in the back. Welcome, Mr. District Attorney. We have two new state representatives, Adrienne Ramos from North Andover and Estelle Reyes from Lawrence. Give them a round of applause. Our new state senator, Pavel Payana, is here. And the Groveland Town Administrator, Rebecca Oldham, is here. Give her a round of applause as well. And if I missed anyone, I apologize. Just let me know. We'll recognize you through the course of the program. We also want to recognize we have three newspaper sources here: WHAV News, LC Local Community Access Television, the City of Lawrence, and also we want to recognize all of you because of what you do. And we're having this program taped, and it's going to be distributed to all the cable networks throughout the Merrimack Valley. And we want to say thank you. I'd like to introduce, as you know, the Merrimack Valley Chamber is known for bringing government and business together cooperatively. This has been a successful series that is the best of any other organization, and I say that objectively. Please welcome the chairman of our Government Affairs Committee, Cal Williams.
Good morning, Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce. Happy New Year. As you can see with this table here, I mean, what can you say? What a way to start the new year off. So first and foremost, I'm glad that you took the time out of your busy schedules to attend this morning and just sit back and enjoy. Thank you.
That's it.
That's it.
As the chamber, as you know, our chamber provides our members and our communities over 100 programs each year, whether it be women in business, government affairs, veterans assistance, nonprofit, human resources, not one but two business trade shows, a whole host of programs. The chamber has to be led by a board of directors, and that's who we take our direction from, as well as obviously serving nearly 1,000 members. So we want to recognize the chairman of the board. You would recognize him perhaps, oh, by the way, I have to tell you this. Michael and I were actually meeting with one of our members on Friday. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chairman.
You're never wrong.
She said I'm starstruck, not at me, but at the Mr. Mayor, because he was the mayor of the city of Lawrence. And she thought he did a great job, as many of us do and all do. Please welcome the chairman of our board, Michael Sullivan. Is that not true?
Well, thank you, Joe, and welcome all of you. And as Joe said, it's the connections we make, I think, that makes this chamber great. And we have a very strong, active board of directors. And if you're on the board of directors, if you could raise your hand and be acknowledged, please. Everybody on the board of directors here, how about a round of applause for Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. This was always a great program, which it will be again today, but over the last 7 months, as I've been at these different events, I've been bringing the issue of the Gold Star family in Lawrence and the renovation of the home. And most of all of you know, August of 2021, Johanny Picado was killed in Afghanistan. She was a young lady from the city of Lawrence, Mass. And she left her mom and her sister and her 2 brothers here in Lawrence with the goal of being homeowners one day. Well, that happened January of 2022, and they bought a single-family home in Lawrence that needed a lot of work. And I had mentioned this to Joe over here and a lot of you, and we sent out a letter through the Chamber of Commerce, through your Chamber of Commerce. If anybody could help, maybe send a donation or 2, or help if you're a contractor to take a look at the electrical or the plumbing and maybe assist doing some painting, etc. The letter went out to about 2,000 people. Within about a week, we must have had response from 10 to 20 contractors, the Exchange Club, the Rotary Club, city councilors, people that all want to help, either with the financial donation or making lunch while people are over there painting, etc. And the story went on and on. Mayor DePena's office got involved, all the city councilors and the city officials got involved with permitting, etc. A couple of key things happened. One, your famous Jackson Lumber and Millwork Company came to see the house. They wanted to get involved. Catherine Craven, my brother Kevin Sullivan, through Babson College, knew of a contractor in Boston, Lee Kennedy Company. They showed up at the house. It was a day where we had about 10 contractors all together. And they all wanted to help. They all wanted to do whatever they could, pro bono. And that's exactly what they did. And I want to highlight today, not only there's so many companies that we could be talking about, but as of today, the house is complete. The occupancy permits are done. But if it wasn't for Lee Kennedy Company, and 2 of the representatives are here today, and I'd like to acknowledge them. Allison Sullivan is the media director from Lee Kennedy. But I want a round of applause and a standing ovation for John Visconti from Lee Kennedy Company. John, stand up, John. At the end of the day, they probably put about $200,000 into this house in materials and labor, and they did it because they have big hearts, and Mr. Kennedy needs to be complimented for that. And there's going to be a lot of joy now in a family that went through a lot of pain over a little over a year ago. So once again, John, you and your team were phenomenal. All the subcontractors that were there every day, this guy here spent more time at the House, I think, than with his real job, and we really thank you for that. So, with that being said, we are going to move on with our program, and we are certainly honored here to have our newly elected Lieutenant Governor. But I think what's critical and really important and exciting for all of us is she served as the Salem mayor from 2006 to just a few weeks ago. So with that being said, we're honored to have our Lieutenant Governor, Kim Driscoll, here. Thank you.
Good morning. It is so special to be here on day 18 of our new administration. And I'm so struck by the story of the work that this chamber helped lead with, obviously, the private sector preparing a new home for a Gold Star family. That, I think, really sums up why organizations like this, community members coming together, like, what's so powerful about the work that we do. And one of the reasons I'm thrilled to be here on day 18 is because this is where the work gets done, in community together, and just fabulous to be able to recognize when the private sector, organizations, and community come together, like who really wins, and those are all of us. So kudos for that work. I know Lee Kennedy, and I know he'll be proud that you all were recognized today for helping make that happen. And thank you so much for having me today. It's always great to be in Merrimack Valley, and certainly with colleagues in local government. Once you're a mayor, you're always a mayor, so you definitely see your work through that lens. And I'm thrilled to be able to just share a few minutes with you as we've begun this new administration, this new journey on some of the work that we think is necessary, and just a couple weeks into the start of our administration, what we're already leaning into. The governor and I definitely see our businesses, our cities and towns as the key drivers of our success, both economic success, of course, but also ensuring that we have vibrant, livable communities. And in order to make progress on the most pressing challenges facing our Commonwealth, affordability, housing, workforce development, and more, we know we need to have strong collaboration between the business community, municipalities, and state government. You know, as a mayor, I certainly know that the value of collaboration firsthand, and as part of this Healy-Driscoll administration, you're gonna have a strong partner, you know, each step of the way. Governor Healy and I are excited to get to work to strengthen our statewide policies in a manner that benefits our communities and our businesses. I'm always fond of saying that local government's sort of the get stuff done branch of government, like no hiding, you've got to deliver every single day. And I think that is the lens that we want to bring to state government. How do we get stuff done together? So I thought I would just take a few minutes today to give you a snapshot of what we have already, you know, started to work on in these early days, and where we see the most potential for collaboration going forward. We know that one of our greatest challenges facing every region of our state is housing affordability. Our cities and towns don't have enough housing to meet the needs of their communities, and our businesses can't recruit and retain the best talent if people can't afford to live here. I say that as the former mayor of Salem, a gateway city. We used to be the affordable community, the place that you could rely on. We no longer are, in so many other places. Lowell, Lawrence, Haverhill, places that used to be affordable, no longer are. Our administration is taking a multifaceted approach to solving our housing crisis, and I'm honored that Governor Healy has placed her faith in me to take a leading role in these efforts. It starts with creating a housing secretary, somebody who will be responsible at our most senior level to ensure that we're doing everything we can to tackle housing. So last week, we filed an executive order creating a working group that will bring together housing developers, municipal leaders, business officials, and housing advocates to help us think through how we structure this new housing secretariat. It's one thing to put a person in charge, so to speak. It's another thing to untangle it from its current makeup. Last week, we also filed a piece of legislation, a nearly $1 billion immediate needs bond bill that will ensure the continuity of ongoing housing production and preservation programs in the near term. A large part of the bill includes funding for successful programs that did not get approved last year in the legislature. We also think we can help uplift and amplify some of those programs in a way that can benefit communities. This includes $110 million to support housing creation and preservation, including affordable rentals, public housing, climate resilient housing, and transit-oriented development. So key as part of the housing choice legislation. There's $48 million for the repair and modernization of public housing units. That's going to serve approximately 80,000 residents across 230 municipalities. And we've committed to continuing the Community Compact program. My local officials know what that means. That's one way we strengthen local government's ability to deliver for residents. And for the remaining portion of fiscal year 23, we hope to use those Community Compact funds to strengthen housing production by allowing communities to apply for housing production planning grants. That's one way that you can better understand what's happening in your own community. Everyone knows we have a housing crisis, but not everyone's on board with building new housing. How do we think about what's happening in your city or town? What's the census tell you? What are the diagnostics? The good news is we're all living longer. The bad news is we don't have enough housing, and often the type of housing we need to be able to age in place. So we want to make sure that we have resources, technical assistance to support communities as we're pushing on the idea for new housing. We know that it needs to come with some help along the way to educate residents to build off of what's happening in your community. And in the weeks and months to come, we'll continue to look at all of you as partners in this work. We're focused on attracting more housing at all levels by streamlining the process, by tracking the number of units we need and create, and leveraging existing resources at our disposal and driving these public-private partnerships. The state doesn't build housing. It's private developers, it's nonprofits. It's working across those spectrums to understand how do we provide the tools necessary to address the housing crisis, and it really is a crisis for so many people. Think about it, over 50% of renters in Massachusetts are spending more than 30% of their income on housing costs. And that was before we had rising inflation and higher electricity costs and other things that impact one's ability to consider Massachusetts livable. You know, one idea we're particularly excited about is more effectively using state-owned land for housing development. We're going to go from we're setting up an advisory council to come up with a statewide strategy to utilize public land and buildings to create more housing. There are hundreds of parcels that are sitting unused, and our administration and finance secretary is already assessing amounts of state-owned land that have the potential for greater revitalization. I've seen the benefits firsthand of this in Salem. We've had a former courthouse downtown turn into a mixed-use development. We've got MBTA-owned land near the train station that is now going to be a housing project. We're exploring putting housing on our high school campus to serve custodians and paraprofessionals and educators in our classrooms, many of whom cannot afford to live in the community they serve. We think there's opportunities to work with all of you as we think about not only state-owned land, but municipal-owned land. And to be clear, we're not talking about parkland or conservation land or open space. We value that, of course, but we know there's opportunities for us to think about how we might think differently about land use moving forward. Most of our most sought-after communities were built before zoning, and they're often things we can't duplicate now. So how do we think about that differently in a way that enables us to maintain the character of the communities that we love, but still serve the people who rely on every single day in our communities? We're going to use a series of carrots and sticks to make sure that every community knows they have a role to play in meeting our housing goals. Our young adults who want to stay in Massachusetts, and our older adults who want to age in place in the community they know and love, and working families who dream of owning their own home. They're all relying on us to work on this issue. And I certainly, again, speak from municipal experience when I say we all benefit from more housing, and we want to make it a win-win for municipalities and businesses who partner with us on this effort. Switching gears to economic development, and the two are certainly related, I want to say the governor and I are committed to spurring economic activity that will support existing businesses, attract new businesses, and foster economic growth in our cities and towns. I hope that's music to the ears of our municipal leaders, because most of us recognize the benefit of new growth, what that means in enabling us to carry out and afford the very services we all rely on. The nearly $1 billion bond bill that I mentioned earlier provides a window into how we're looking at capital investment priorities and secures funding for needed infrastructure programs to continue serving the people of Massachusetts. It invests in our shared mission to grow our housing stock, create jobs, and help communities thrive. And it gives us a strong competitive edge to attract more dollars. One piece of this bond bill is just setting aside resources for matching dollars. There are literally billions of dollars available for competitive infrastructure grants, resiliency grants. We want to make sure we're a commonwealth and a state that is playing in the federal resource arena to attract as many dollars as we can back to Massachusetts. We think there's more work we can do in that space, even setting up dashboards. There's a number of grant opportunities for communities directly to participate in. And this is one-time resources, so we want to make sure we're getting our fair share here, and we're going to work hard to make sure we're putting ourselves in a position framed up for success. The bill that I mentioned also includes $400 million to maintain MassWorks. This is a vital program as part of our Community One Stop for Growth program that enables localities as well as organizations to submit applications for funding to help ensure we're looking at both economic development and housing projects. Many of the initiatives right here in Merrimack Valley that you are familiar with, whether it's redevelopment of old mills in Lawrence and Lowell, or new parking garages in Haverhill, and SOAR upgrades in North Andover, all of these dollars are partnered with private sector investment to support housing and commercial development. The vast majority of the state resources came from the MassWorks program. It has been a home run. We want to continue to see it thrive and grow and support that private investment, which of course is not just about tax revenues and new opportunities for vibrancy. It's also about jobs. And we're excited that the FY24 round for the Community One Stop for Growth is officially underway. So if you've got projects or initiatives in your community, formal submissions are due between May and June, and we look forward to seeing all of your great economic development projects come through the portal. The last piece of, I think it's important for cities and town leaders that are here is the local aid. So many of us rely on local aid to help fund our schools and the most important work that we're doing in local government. And the governor and I understand how important predictability and certainly transparency are for the work you do in local government. We're committed to ensuring that municipalities have the support they need to serve their communities. Last week, just at our Mass Municipal Association meeting, we committed to early notification of local aid funding levels, including Chapter 70 and unrestricted government aid, affectionately known as UGA for most of us. And that will come in advance of rolling out our FY24 budget. As a new administration, we get an extra 4 weeks to put our budget together, and we are going to need every minute of it. But we want to make sure our cities and towns know what they can rely on coming from state government. We're committed to making sure that's as seamless as possible. That also includes a 2-year Chapter 90 bond authorization. That'll give our community leaders the opportunity to know and plan for a 2-year basis of work they can do to repair bridges and fix roads. Certainly, it's a welcome amount of resources at any local level to have Chapter 90 arrive a little bit earlier with a little bit more predictability. We're going to do everything we can to make sure cities and towns have the resources they need to keep communities afloat during a time of rising cost and to sustain that economic growth that we know is important as we compete for our share of federal funding and move forward. Before I close, I definitely want to speak directly to the business community and the business leaders in this room today. You know, we so value the contributions you make to our communities, both the jobs you create, the families you sustain, the economic growth you drive. I always used to say to new businesses entering into Salem, coming in and investing dollars, that we have a symbiotic relationship. You know, you're investing in our shared success, and we really want to see our local businesses as partners. We also know that the past few years have, been particularly challenging, and we want to be able to support you as we move forward. It starts with making sure you have the workforce you need. Like tens of thousands of jobs are going unfilled because sometimes the skills of our workers don't match the demands of the economy. I know over the last year, every region of this Commonwealth, at every level, from entry-level positions in a city like Salem that relies on the tourism and hospitality industry, to highly technically skilled positions in cybersecurity or life sciences, everyone has vacancies. And Governor Healy and I want to work with you to harness that full potential of ensuring that we're building out a competitive workforce model. That means working with our community college like NECO in Middlesex, knowing that we need to work with our vocational schools and apprenticeship programs to make sure the training we offer meets the needs of what our businesses demand, both regionally and statewide. We've already pledged to create and fund the Mass Reconnect program. That's going to happen in our first budget. This will offer free community college to students over 25 who don't have a college degree. We know that community college can be a key to economic success, creating that ladder, and we really want to partner in a way that makes it accessible to as many residents as possible. We'll also enhance early college opportunities and increase funding to our state university system so everyone can afford a higher degree. I'm a proud graduate of Salem State. Any Vikings in the room? Oh, wow. Yeah, Vikings, all right?
Yeah, Superintendent of Whittier.
Thank you, District Attorney Paul Tucker, for that loud woo-hoo, okay? Look, when I went to Salem State, you could actually hustle all summer and make your tuition. You just can't do that anymore. And some of that's about how we support our public higher ed institutions. A lot of that is making sure we're creating those opportunities for students who want to go to college or who want to trade or want to explore a career pathway, have those options. We hope to invest in those critical areas that we know can lead to a ready workforce, and we're going to have to do that in this post-pandemic future. I still feel like we're in this transition phase. You know, my commute has got a little bit longer. I'm not just going to City Hall in Salem now. I'm heading into Boston to the State House. It's pretty quiet in Boston. There's a lot of people still working from home. How do we think about this next iteration of workforce? How do we support it? How do we make sure we're building out the talent pipeline that we need? In a world where you can work anywhere, it's really important that we lean in to understand what are those challenges that we have here. Workforce is that, for sure. It's also housing. It's also childcare. But we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to support a robust workforce and talent pipeline. Look, and in closing, I hope this conversation today is the first of many that we'll have over the next few years. It is day 18, and I'm here in Merrimack Valley because the governor and I both realize this is where the work gets done, in community. We know that communication and collaboration with both municipal officials and business leaders are key to ensuring the success of all of our communities, from Andover to Amherst and Haverhill to Harwich. Know that our administration will be accessible, we'll want to listen to your needs, we'll position our communities and our businesses and our Commonwealth for continued success. A lot of gratitude early on in this administration. We feel like there's a lot of folks rooting for us, and we're relying on all of you to help us be successful in moving Massachusetts forward. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you for being here. Great job. Just want to acknowledge some of the other people that came in. Newly elected state rep Francisco Polino is here. Francisco. Methuen City Council President Eunice Ziegler is here. Eunice. Lawrence City Council President Mark LaPlante is here. The chairperson of the Board of Education from DESE at the state is here. Catherine Craven is over here. Catherine, thank you. We talked about the Gold Star family. Former Secretary of Veterans Affairs Francisco Urena is here. Thank you, Sergeant Urena. And the president of Northern Essex Community College is here, Mr. Lane Glenn. Thank you, Lane, for being here. Being in the beautiful town of Andover, I'm proud to introduce to you our Andover town manager for the last 8 years, Mr. Andrew Flanagan. Andrew.
Thank you, Mike, and good morning. Welcome to Andover. Welcome to everybody here. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor. We certainly hope this is one of many trips to Merrimack Valley. Everybody knows our Lieutenant Governor is the former mayor of Salem, but she's also a former deputy city manager of Chelsea. So there aren't many people in the Commonwealth that have had mayor and manager in their title. So there's very good reason why we're all excited for partnership with you and the administration. This morning I'm joined by two members of our select board in Andover, Melissa Danish and Annie Gilbert. And while I have a table full of staff that all have contributed to much of what I'm going to talk about this morning, I do want to welcome Phil Jeffroy, our new Director of Communications. He only started a week ago, so everything I talk about today, hopefully you're going to be hearing a lot more about in the coming weeks and months. So we're really excited to have him on board. This morning I'm going to start by talking a little bit about our capital improvement program in Andover and how it dovetails with a lot of the economic development activity within our town borders. So if you look at the Andover CIP, Capital Improvement Program, it's really bifurcated into improvements that support quality of life improvements like education, parks, recreation. And then the other half of it is really focused on investments that we can make as a municipality to support the economic growth of Andover, and if we do it right, the region. So we're in the 7th year of our facility master plan. We've had a lot of luck powering through some of the municipal buildings. We replaced our DPW facility over here on 5 Campanelli Drive. Check it out on your way out. It's a busy facility this morning. We replaced our Balladville Fire Station, and we renovated and expanded our senior center. So with our municipal buildings in a good place, we're moving forward with our school buildings. This is a very tricky time to be building schools or for public construction in general. Non-residential construction is up about 25% over last year. We're in the process of building, we just recently broke ground on our West Elementary and Shawsheen Preschool, 2 schools, 1 campus, replacing the 2 schools in the most dire need. While the national trend's been about 25%, we were trending at about 12%. Had to go back to special town meeting, and the total project cost is $168 million with a $38 million grant from the MSBA. So to Catherine Craven and the partners at MSBA, we're certainly grateful for your partnership during this difficult time. One thing that you're going to be seeing and reading a lot about is the Andover High School project. That's the next one. The high school is the flagship of most cities and towns' facilities. That's certainly the case here. It was built in 1968. We're working through a feasibility study that's going to identify 2 options, a complete reconstruction in a new building and one that completely renovates the existing building and spaces with a significant addition. This is going to be the heart of much of our work, much of our discussion. It's an enormous project, as you can imagine. Some similar or geographically close projects that may be similar. Stoneham just got approved for $190 million. Arlington, 2 or 3 years ago, was $293 million. Lexington was most recently at about $400 million. So you can see where the trend line is going. It's a major community discussion and ultimately a community decision, and one we look forward to engaging our residents about. On a much smaller scale, a project that we're really excited about, we work in town offices, which was formerly a high school. It was renovated in 1983, the B-Town offices. Not much has changed. And we're designed a project that we're going to start this spring that makes our building accessible to the public, expands our public meeting spaces, and builds a one-of-a-kind customer service center. We're really going to take a serious shot at this one-stop shopping. So if you're a business, you're a resident, you can come in, license your dog, pay your taxes, if you're a resident and business, and get your common vicular. So we're really taking the customer service piece seriously. On the recreation side, we purchased out here in West Andover 44-acre farm several years ago, and we're going through a community engagement process about building. If you could have anything you want in Andover in terms of recreational amenities, fields, rink, community gardens, pickleball courts, basketball courts, it's all being explored, and I'm really looking forward to bringing a project to town meeting sometime in 2024. Now, on that side of the CIP, that relates specifically to economic development. The town of Andover has been very aggressive in moving forward with its water main investment replacement program. Over the past 5 years, the Select Board has made a major investment and committed to long-term investment. We've invested about $25 million, replacing 11 miles of our unlined cast iron mains, which are the oldest. They're limited on the capacity in which they can move water. And we're planning to do another $30 million over the next 5 years. So a 30-year plan became a 15-year plan and is looking a lot more like a 12-year plan. It's about replacing what's old. It's about expanding capacity, particularly the areas of town where we want to promote growth, like Lowell Junction and out here on River Road. The nice part about water in Andover is this whole program is subsidized by our agreement with North Reading. So we provide North Reading with almost all of their water now, and we're going to do it for the next 94 years. So we look forward to hopefully both of us being good partners to each other because we're in this for the long haul. Last month, we started our downtown amenity capital project. So when I say amenity, it's a nice project for people who live and visit Andover, but it's also a critically important project for those who do business and the businesses in downtown Andover. So if you drive through Andover, downtown right now, we're torn up. There's plenty of parking. It may just be in a different place from where you usually are accustomed to parking. But we're rebuilding all the parking lots and adjoining sidewalks and roads behind Old Town Hall to improve vehicular traffic flow, pedestrian and bicycle access, and build a public amenity space behind Old Town Hall that can be used for performance, outdoor dining, and any other things that can support our businesses. In 2022, 13 new businesses opened in downtown Andover. Downtown is thriving. It's really nice, and to see some of our downtown businesses recreate their model based on some of the opportunities that presented themselves during a really tough COVID period, whether it was outdoor dining on Main Street. That's become permanent by zoning in Andover. It's really provided businesses with an opportunity to think differently. We've partnered with the businesses on downtown entertainment. If you come down to downtown Andover in the warmer months, it is becoming a happening place, and I think when we're done with our amenity project, it's going to only be that much better. You've heard me, this is year 8, for probably 8 years coming up here talking about the site of the Old Town Yard. The Old Town Yard is the affectionate term for our former DPW facility, 3.5 acres, heart of downtown, adjacent to a commuter rail station. We went through a very public process on the disposition of that asset, and Minco, a Merrimack Valley developer, was selected, and they were selected based on a number of things. Their ability to build housing, community amenities, access to the commuter rail station, a lot of the things that the Lieutenant Governor talked about. We're trying to wrap up and take an parcel that stored trucks and salt and turn it into a community asset that will support downtown and a lot of the objectives of the town as they relate to housing and access to transit. On the economic development front, out of downtown, in roughly the last year and a half, nearly 1 million square feet of new commercial space has been either built out or permitted here in town. Right off 93 at 4 Corporate Drive, renovations have been completed at the IQHQ Innovation Park, which is just over 200,000 square foot facility that is now home to Oncourse, a Cambridge cancer treatment startup. Across the street, work is completing at 1 Corporate Drive, including a 100,000 square foot addition being developed. That's going to be the hub of several hopefully startup life science companies. And we know that there's a lot of businesses that are companies that may not be able to afford the inner core who are looking for opportunity for startup space a little bit further from the city, and we hope to be a landing spot from them. Of real significance, and something that we've been watching closely, is the former Phillips Medical Campus right here off River Road. It was recently acquired by Alexandria Real Estate Equities. The parcels themselves in the aggregate are over 1 million square feet, and it's their goal to build a life sciences hub here in Andover off Route 93 that can really help with the whole emerging industries of life sciences in Merrimack Valley. Sticking with that, the planning board just after the turn of the year approved a new 223,000 square foot pharmaceutical manufacturing building at 300 Minuteman Road, also right out here off River Road. So we're really optimistic. We're optimistic for Andover, we're optimistic for the Valley, because when a lot of businesses are looking to reduce their footprint, what we're seeing right now in real time is that businesses are looking, if I may call us a suburb, looking to the suburbs to expand their footprint, to invest, to explore, into really, in many cases, what we're seeing startup, and hopefully we'll be able to succeed, whether it be here or they grow and their footprint expands well beyond Andover. But it's great for Andover, it's great for the Merrimack Valley. So it's really great to see everybody in Andover. Joe, keep having this in Andover. We love hosting it for a number of reasons, especially on slippery days or Monday mornings. But we're glad to be here, and we couldn't be any happier to have our new partner in government, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate it. Our next speaker, who's been here for, I think this is the 23rd year. I got to read this because he's just the best. A lifelong Haverhill resident and the city's biggest advocate. He was sworn in to serve his record 10th term on January of 2022. By far, he is the longest serving mayor up here. By far the longest serving mayor in the state, and we do think he's the longest serving mayor in the United States of America. Haverhill's best, Mr. James Fiorentini. You got that, Jim?
Thanks, Mike. You know, actually, I've got a new job for you, Joe. Handyman.
Yeah.
Here we go. Actually, I'm not the longest serving mayor in the state. That's my pal Dean Mazzarella. And I'm nowhere close to the longest serving mayor in the country. I was at a conference a few years ago and pointed to some old fella who said, how old are you, son? And I told him, and he said, how long you been in office? I said, 16 years. He said, it's great to meet you newcomers. He said, this is my 40th year. My friend Kim Driscoll did a great job, as she always does, on her 18th day in office. I hope I have the same enthusiasm. This is my 6,956th day in office. Kim says people would ask her all the time, don't they have term limits? And they ask me that all the time, too. I say, yes, we do. No one can serve longer than 2 years without the express consent of the voters. But I like Kim's answer better. She said, yes, we're limited by sanity. I think she means when you go insane, you leave. But I think it means when you go sane, you leave. So in case I go sane and we don't have a chance to meet again, I'd like to give you a 20-year summary of what's happened in my great community from the time I've been in, which is 20 years, by the way. We started 20 years ago with the collapse of the municipally owned hospital, the largest municipal, giving us the largest municipal debt in the 400-year history of all of Massachusetts, about $10 million a year, which at that time was around 10% of our operating budget. In addition to that, our high school was on accreditation probation and required a massive infusion of money. 2 of our state representatives said there was no choice for Haverhill to become only the 2nd city in the state to go into receivership. We'd lost a lot, but we had a tremendous asset, a wonderful, wonderful staff, brilliant people. And together we came up with a 3-part strategy to get over that. Nag the state for more money, and they came through for us. Make cuts to our budget, and that's been the toughest thing I've done in 20 years. People leaving my office in tears, and I felt terrible about it. And for a long-range plan, grow our tax base. We started downtown with old factory buildings that had been largely abandoned for decades. We rezoned downtown. We had developer conferences to attract big-name developers. When the state put in incentives for transit-oriented development, we were the very first step. In fact, we were there before the state. We reduced parking requirements downtown, and the longer I'm in, the more I'm convinced this is the key to be able to redevelop a downtown, reduce your parking requirements. All of this led to an incredible revitalization of our downtown. $250 million in new investment, a new restaurant district, a new boardwalk. The old Woolworth building, abandoned for 48 years, became Harbor Place. On the eastern end of town, we employed some planning consultants, and they had great ideas. They told us we didn't have too little parking, we had too much parking. So we sold off a parking lot to the Lapoli companies, and if you drive through downtown Haverhill, you'll see the incredible 10-story building that they built on that lot. Altogether, 13 downtown properties were redeveloped and put back on the tax rolls. Their valuations went from $12 million over the 20-year period to $132 million. Taxes just for those 13 properties increased by over $5 million a year. We rezoned our industrial parks to make it easier to build. And in the past year alone, we have 4 great new companies coming in, bringing a total of 800 to 1,000 new jobs. It wasn't just downtown. Overall, property values shot up in Haverhill, went up a total of $5.8 billion. That's billion with a B. And our tax revenue went up by $65 million. Of course, part of that's inflation, but we like to think that part of it is our city's become much more attractive over the years and much more in demand. But what do we do with that money? We put in miles and miles of new sidewalks. We invested in our infrastructure. We paved more streets. We planted 3,000 trees. We spent over $100 million, $110 million, building new schools and repairing old ones. In the police department, we invested. We started with 93 police officers, but because of the budget cuts we had to make, we went down to a low of 83. We steadily added police over the years, and today we have 110 police officers, the most in our history. Over the past 20 years, we've seen a dramatic drop in crime in Haverhill. Car thefts are down 86%. House breaks, one of the most feared crimes by our citizens, are down by 91%. And overall crime in Haverhill is down by 65%. Basically, Haverhill is only 1/3 the number of crimes we did 20 years ago. Now, part of that, of course, is a nationwide trend, but I feel that part of it is the incredible and great work of our police officers. Our police chief is here today, Bob Pistone. I'd like to recognize him. Thank him and the great department for their great work. We also invested in schools. The school budget has doubled just in the past 10 years. From the time I started, we have 200 more teachers, and despite all of the growth, we have 500 fewer kids. We were able to do this while keeping the second lowest average single-family tax bill in Essex County. Taxing below the levy, we have a $5 million excess levy capacity, and that excess levy capacity will allow us next year to build a brand new Constantino Middle School without asking for a debt exclusion. Now, last year, 2022, our progress continued. Crime went down another 8%. We have 800 to 1,000 new jobs coming in Monogram Foods, Amazon, and several others. We have a new cable company, BreezeLine, bringing us competition. And we've been able to do something I'm very proud of, something for the electric bills for our residents. We started an energy aggregation program, and Haverhill residents who didn't opt out, about 15,000 families, are paying 10.8 cents per kilowatt hour for electricity, while national grid rate is 31 cents. We've saved our residents millions of dollars in energy costs. Last year, the best is yet to come. Last year, we put out for RFP the parking deck downtown. We had a public process, and we awarded that parking deck to the Lipoli companies. They're promising to build a $160 million new development, 5 new buildings, a new parking garage, an outdoor court, it'll be a food court in the summer months, and a refrigerated outdoor rink in the winter months. It will dwarf anything else that's ever been built in our downtown. In addition, we have some other great developments built along a village concept. The old De Burrows project is being redeveloped. The old Ornstein Heel is being redeveloped. Altogether, 1,000 new units will be built. The 2 new projects being built in Haverhill, the Constantino School and the new development downtown, will totally remake our city. And I'm very confident that for all of our progress, our best days lie ahead. Folks, for these 6,956 days, for 20 years, it's been an incredible journey. All I can say to all of you, all I can say to Councilor Bevilacqua, who's been such a great supporter, and to all of you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Congratulations, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor Fiorentini. Next, we will hear from the first native and first female and the youngest person to be entrusted to lead the great city of Amesbury. Cassandra Gove was only 34 years old when she took office in January of 2020. Cassandra?
See if we can get this to work for me. Good morning. I used to think that Joe did this based on seniority, but I'm inching my way up in the agenda, so I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. So good morning. We come together every year for this event, but I have to tell you that this time, you got us on the best day of the year. And I'll speak for myself, but my colleagues and I just attended the Mass Municipal Association's annual meeting. We haven't had this meeting in 3 years. And I am really amped up and feeling like together we can take on the world. Like, Massachusetts is the best state in the country, and the Merrimack Valley really has it going on. So, we might be facing some really extraordinary challenges, but they are truly opportunities. Opportunities to do things differently, to have different conversations with different people at the table, and to see different results. 5 of 6 statewide offices are now held by women. And they are all part of the, we heard it this morning, get stuff done side of government. What that means is that we are going to have to keep up. Senator Markey was at the conference and he quoted the great hockey player Wayne Gretzky, who said something like, "Don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck is going." So maybe we don't just need to keep up, but we need to get ahead and be ready. We're all always working on housing, economic development, schools, transportation, infrastructure, and of course now more than ever through a lens of equity. But I can't cover everything today, so I'll touch on a few things that we're doing in Amesbury. We'll start with housing, as we've heard a lot about. Frankly, we are behind, and we're in good company. But we believe that we are well positioned to begin making progress towards adding almost 1,000 units of housing, 789 of which are required by the MBTA communities. Over the last year, we have seen 2 churches converted into condos in our downtown district. Some of them include affordable units. Next, and in the permitting stages now, is the transition of an old car dealership that is smack in the middle of a residential neighborhood. They will tear that down and add townhouse-style units. We have preliminary approval for a new and our second 40R Smart Growth Overlay District and just submitted our council order for the approval of that zoning language. Our Affordable Housing Trust is working towards surplusing city property for development of affordable units with nonprofit partners. And they have also contracted with a consultant to review housing-related zoning that could result in more units with increased affordable options like inclusionary zoning and accessory dwelling units. We are working every day to keep manufacturing and good-paying jobs in our community. Our largest employer has outgrown their building. Munters Corporation employs over 300 people. I don't think Munters is here today, but 1/3 of those 300 are Amesbury residents. The rest we know mostly come up the 495 corridor and from many of your communities. Munters is relocating. Right now, all signs point to another site in Amesbury. Their only other options are New Hampshire. And with what I just said about where their employees come from, I know we all want to keep them in the valley. Munters is a climate control company. One of the industries they are involved in is lithium batteries for electric vehicles. So I'm sure you can understand the urgency and the opportunity for expansion. Amesbury, you may or may not know, is home to one of the first, if not the first, electric vehicle, the 1913 Bailey Electric, run on an Edison storage battery that could get you 150 miles under good conditions and 100 miles under any conditions. This is a very exciting opportunity for us to continue this legacy and see this be successful 110 years later. So we're hoping for success. We have many people partnering with us here to make this happen and ensure that Munters stays with us. Speaking of electric vehicles, we have recently seen the electrified garage move from Seabrook, New Hampshire to Amesbury, a nice feather in our cap. We often see them go the other direction. The business was started by 3 guys with decades of experience in the auto industry. They are well known on YouTube, and they are contacted by people all over the world who need service or parts for their electric vehicles. They also offer rebuilds and conversions. They do really cool stuff. And they are actually located in what used to be our gasoline alley. So we are truly seeing the conversion right in our neighborhoods. As a reminder, we have over 20 electric vehicle stations in Amesbury. 16 are city-owned, and they are in our downtown area. In that downtown area, I want to mention that we are still very full. I said this last year. We're seeing businesses elbow each other out to find space. It is vibrant and eclectic, and if you haven't visited lately, please come up to Amesbury. If you need a reason, we just opened our first live music venue called The Space. The Actors Studio is now in downtown Amesbury, and we are weeks away from seeing what will be our 4th brewery. Outrider Beer Company is joining Mill 77, who opened this summer, Bear Wolf Brewing, and Sylvaticus, who are just downtown hotspots. We signed a host agreement with a cannabis delivery company this year and expect them to be up and running in 2023, as well as our second cultivation business, who is in their final build out at this point. I always like to close with a call to action. So I want to close by encouraging you, and for you to then encourage your staff and your colleagues to get involved in what's happening at your town meeting or city council or school committee meetings. Think about running for office. Join our boards and commissions. I could almost guarantee we all have vacancies. For us to get ahead and to be ready, not just trailing and trying to keep up, we will be proposing legislation that pushes the status quo. The rooms we work in are too often empty. Or we only see folks on one side of the issue, and I'm sure you can guess which side. There are more of you in this room for breakfast than I see at city council meetings. And if you can't physically go, get to know your city councilors. Talk to them about what's going on. If you are a CEO or a hiring manager and you know you can't hire people because they can't find a place to live, they took a job and then they decided they couldn't take it because they had no place to go, speak up. Show up when we propose legislation that is related to housing. If you or someone in your home has left the workforce because of childcare costs or flexibility, speak up. Show up when we talk about youth centers and after-school programs and the value of flexible work schedules for the staff who are delivering our services, because they are choosing to leave the workforce too. If you are someone who is working more than one job, you've got a side hustle or you moonlight at the local pub after work, and you still don't know if you can make the bills, make ends meet and pay your bills, show up and speak up to your representatives so that they think of you when they are making decisions and thinking about who they will impact. We need your help. Please speak up and show up. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra. Well said. Next speaker, a fellow who's only been in office for a little over 3 years, but has gotten a whole lot of work done. From Methuen, Mayor Neil Perry.
Am I in the pole position, Sean, or you? Yeah. So before I start my speech, I'd like you all to join me in a moment of condolence to the mother of my dear friends, Michael and Kevin Sullivan, who recently passed. Hopefully you got the opportunity to meet her, and if you did, you would understand why they are the wonderful gentlemen they are. So my hat goes out to you guys, right? And then, because I was so nice, I want to, pay back here a little bit. On behalf of the Lieutenant Governor and my peers, I want to thank Joe and Mike for inviting me to speak at the New England Power Conference. When I got here this morning, I saw 8,000 power trucks parked in the hotel parking lot. I went to each one of them and put little stickers showing the directions to Methuen. So hopefully today won't be too bad, so be careful driving out there when you leave. So good morning and happy Lunar New Year to all. Jack Wilson's over there, my Economic and Community Development Director. He's saying, Mayor, stick to the script. Don't go off point.
He's worried already.
He's worried, yeah. There is no bigger cheerleader for the city of Methuen than that man over there, other than this man here. I never envisioned I would be here in front of you. I had a 40-year career at Raytheon, for those of you that know me. I never expected to be an elected official, no less a mayor. But they, pardon my English, pissed me off so much I ran for mayor, all right? And 3 years later, I'm proud to stand in front of you and talk to you about the success story that Methuen's becoming, thanks to people that I work with like Jack Wilson. So I'm proud to report that over the course of the last year or so, Methuen has made great strides in the area of economic development, housing, public safety, governmental infrastructure, and providing services to our constituents. However, before I tell those stories, I'd like to touch upon what I believe is the most important headline of the last few years in Methuen. We have successfully emerged from a long period of financial instability for the city. Just this month, and I thank you, Council Chairwoman, I know you're over there in the back, my administration proposed and our City Council approved that we use some of our record free cash to pay back the Commonwealth the $2.5 million remainder of a $4 million loan taken by the city in 2019 to balance its fiscal year 2020 budget. The loan was necessary due to an overrun in the school budget. Don't be misled by the headlines that say it's due to our police department. That's not true. In 3 short years, this administration, I'm proud to say, has paid off the entire debt and has grown its free cash from a negative $2 million when I took office to a current historic high of $16.6 million. This financial success story has created the collateral benefit of the city having its bond rating increase 4 times since I took office. The most recent upgrade occurred in September 2022, when Moody's Investor Service upgraded the city's general obligation bond rating from A1 to A3, bypassing an entire level. And I want that AAA, by the way. The additional borrowing power these improved bond ratings have created has enabled our administration to plan robust capital improvements to our infrastructure over the last 3 years at an affordable cost. That, coupled with over $46 million in ARPA funds that we went out and solicited when we were only supposed to get 19, we petitioned our state delegation and the governor, and they responded, and we've got $46 million of infrastructure projects happening in the city of Methuen as we speak, including the addition of a brand new $9 million school on Branch Street to ease the overcrowding caused by the pandemic. Now, a strong financial position is the underpinning of a successful community, but that success can only be sustained by continued attempts to attract and retain tax-paying businesses. The importance of this aspect of municipal government cannot be understated. It's always been the goal of my administration to close the gap between the amount of real estate tax burden borne by the residents and businesses by expanding the commercial and industrial tax base. Clearly, the pandemic got in that way, but we are rebounding. Notably, our most recent residential and business tax rates have decreased from the prior year. One means that Methuen has taken full advantage of to attract business has been by using the Commonwealth's Economic Development Incentive Program, which allows the city to offer real estate tax increment financing, or TIFs, to companies that are creating jobs and would otherwise be relocating elsewhere but for the availability of the program. Building on a long and successful history of Methuen's use of TIF agreements to create permanent private sector jobs and spur significant private investment, within the last year, the City of Methuen, led by our Economic and Community Development Department and our director over here, has struck multiple TIF agreements. One example was the Pleasant Street Designs, a custom sign manufacturer that was on the verge of leaving Methuen to cross over into New Hampshire. The approved TIF resulted in the company's relocation to and the investment of more than $2 million into a long vacant former private school building, the retention of 45 full-time jobs, and the creation of 89 additional jobs. More recently, the Methuen City Council approved a TIF agreement with Factorial Incorporated, and I was intrigued by what my compadre Cassandra said. Factorial is the developer of an electric battery that will dominate the car industry, and we're pleased to have them in Methuen. This will bring 166 new additional full-time jobs to the city of Methuen, and the company will be investing over $45 million to create a manufacturing facility for the production of batteries for use in electric vehicles. And believe me when I say they will dominate. My hand doesn't work as well as it used to. The opening of a new Balance Factory of the Future last summer brought an investment of $25 million and the creation of 160 new quality full-time jobs. But the bottom line is that momentum continues to build for economic growth in Methuen. Whether it's innovative manufacturing or specialty retail goods and services, such as Raising Cane's. And I don't know if you guys know what Raising Cane's are. I never knew it till we did our restaurant week last year, and we put a teaser out there about it. We had 50,000 tags in about an hour. So Raising Cane's is a chicken place. And they're coming to Methuen, and my kids are just thrilled to death, right? We've got the Big Blue Swim School at the Loop in Methuen and virtual golf coming in February. So the Loop is achieving new heights as a welcome place for business to open, grow, and prosper. To accommodate this growth, we recently secured grant funding to update the city's master plan for the first time since 2007. Entitled Methuen 2035, A Vision for the Future, our consultants will work with residents and businesses in a grassroots effort aimed at economic development. The city will host a community forum this coming Thursday, January 26th, at Methuen High School from 6 to 8 p.m., at which residents and stakeholders will have the opportunity to share their hopes, concerns, and vision for the future of Methuen. As for the prior 2007 plan, I'm pleased to report that great strides were made in many areas, but particularly in the area of housing. For the first time since the advent of the Commonwealth's affordable housing law, Methuen has also achieved the goal of 10% of its housing stock being classified as affordable. Because we've reached our 10% threshold, Methuen now has much more leverage when it comes to deciding the fate of its remaining land. Additionally, we've increased our stock of assisted living and senior housing, so vital. Finally, as various projects have been approved, we've secured more than 145 acres of open space for the city. Our downtown area, long suffering, has been the focus of a 40-hour smart growth plan that has brought with it the preservation and repurposing of some of our oldest and most historically significant buildings, while creating to date the promise of 43 housing units with more on the drawing board. Jack will cringe, but I usually stop at this time and say, if you've never been to Methuen City Hall, you haven't seen a great building. It's one of the finest buildings in the Commonwealth, and my office is my mother's high school science class. Right? I like to say that to everybody. All this said, the progress must continue. With the addition of the current restructured downtown housing units for the first time in decades, Methuen will have a sizable downtown population. Now we need to provide places for those people to go. With that good news comes the reality that we need to give those residents places to dine, shop, and be entertained within the same area. This has been and will continue to be our focus as we move forward. One example of the small steps the city has taken towards attracting attention to its downtown is its partnership with Methuen Arts and Institute of the Merrimack Valley to present Light the Falls at the Spigot River waterfall adjacent to Mills Falls Apartments on Osgood Street. Powerful programmable lights cast a colorful hue on the falls. The colors and themes change from season to season, and last night they were Lunar New Year, whenever water is flowing over the falls and also when they're frozen. This is a great attraction to our downtown that has drawn many observers during its shows. Later this month, the three-dimensional sculpture Plethora will be on display through the end of October 2023 on Osgood Street in Riverwalk Park. The 3D design and construction of this 5-ton statue is the creative work of Lux Maya, a next-generation digital technology company with whom the city has partnered to highlight the capabilities of 3D technology. We're investing heavily in that for our future. But while we focus on economic development and housing, it goes without saying that no one wants to live anywhere that they don't feel safe and secure and receive great services. So let me take a moment to talk about these areas. I would be remiss if I did not highlight and applaud the progress of our police department, having recently achieved certification by the Mass Police Chiefs Association with the expectation of achieving accreditation by the middle of 2023. That is a huge step forward. And I'm going to do it again, so get ready. So much of that would not be possible if not for me standing here before you. Who could ever envision the mayor of Methuen standing before you and saying, with condolences to Chief Pistone from Havel, a good man, I have the finest police chief in the Commonwealth in the city of Methuen. Stand up, Scott. Take a bow. Scott McNamara. Yeah, this department, in conjunction with our information technology department, has overseen the purchase and installation of almost 100-plus public cameras in all areas of the city, with the intention to purchase and install 50 every year. In addition to the cameras, the department has adopted other advanced technological methods using the analysis of data to target high crime areas for extra attention or predict areas and resolve them before they become high crime areas, which is even more important. I spoke earlier about our robust capital improvement plan, or CIP. Through that program, we've been able to do a lot, including the purchase of 16 new police cruisers over the last 2 years. While patrolling the city, our police officers have once again embraced the concept of community policing. They're focusing on building relationships with our citizens, emerging from those new cruisers regularly to interact with our residents in non-emergency and non-threatening encounters. Through our capital improvement project, we've also purchased numerous other vehicles and pieces of equipment for our fire department, including 2 ambulances and 2 fire engines, one a specially sized truck necessary for one of our satellite fire stations that's just too small for the vehicle of a traditional length. And before I leave office, we're going to have a bond for both a brand-new DPW building and a public safety complex, or I'll die trying. Last but not least, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about a recent change to our trash and recycling program. For reasons I cannot explain, the city has been at the top of the list of trash tonnage and the bottom of the list for recycling statewide. We did not wear these badges proudly. However, as of July 1st, 2022, we signed a new trash contract and converted to an automated cart-based collections. The program was initiated on October 1st, 2022, and since that date, we've seen over a 20% reduction in trash and an 18% increase in recycling. We're looking forward to adding composting in the spring, and that'll really blow the residents' minds. These numbers, though, bode well for the city both financially and environmentally, and are a tribute to the hardworking Department of Public Works employees of our city, as well as the cooperation of our citizens. And it would also be remiss of me to speak on a morning like this and not say we have the finest DPW in the Commonwealth. Our roads are in the best shape, not paving-wise. And before the Lieutenant Governor left, I said, you need somebody to champion that Chapter 90. Talk to Mayor Fiorentini and myself. We were petitioning the prior governor, saying we need more money for our roads and our bridges, right? Like all our sister municipalities in the region, Methuen faces economic challenges every day simply by being on the New Hampshire border. For its part, the Chamber of Commerce has been a critically important partner when it comes to helping member communities look with optimism to the future and provide a great opportunity like this to come together and discuss our challenges, acknowledge our successes, and share our respective visions for a bright, healthy, and sustainable future. I'll close by just saying this. I've lived in Methuen for all of my 65 years. There's no place I would rather live. I love the city. People tell me, why do you do it? My children tell me, why do you do this? Why do you do this job? Because I intend to do it one more time, one more term. I love Methuen, and I want you to love Methuen too. We are every time I come to this conference, I say we are open and ready for business. See Jack Wilson, my Economic and Community Development Director. See me if you prefer. We would love to have you in the city of Methuen. Thank you, and God bless you all. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Perry. I want to acknowledge Haverhill City Councilor Catherine Rogers is here. Catherine, thank you for being here. The Whittier Regional Technical High School Superintendent Maureen Lynch. Thank you, Maureen, for being here. Chief Mac's counterpart in Lawrence, Chief Roy Vasquez here. Thank you, Roy, for being here. And Sean, I think a lot of people said we saved the best for last, right? From the town of Newburyport, Mayor Sean Reardon. City of Newburyport. Thanks, Sean.
All right, yeah, last but not least, I guess. So thank you to the Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce. This was the first event I got to attend last year as mayor. And so I survived my first year, so thanks for having me back. And I think I was really invited back because I was the briefest last year. So since I'm going last today, I'll try to be brief as well. So thank you, Joe. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Cal. I wanted to just mention the LG, Kim Driscoll, and State Auditor Diana DeZoglio for being here. I mean, I think I speak for all the local leaders up here that we are just thrilled that they are in office, and we look forward to getting stuff done with them. So here's my one joke of the day. I want to thank Merrimack Valley for getting me breakfast this morning. Typically, all Newburyport gets from the Merrimack Valley is combined sewage overflows. Does that work? No. Is it too early for that? No. I don't know. I laughed last night thinking of that. So 2022 was a big year for me in Newburyport, and big year for the city. We know 2023 is going to be even bigger. We have a 5-year rolling streets and sidewalks plan that we implemented last year. We paved over 4 miles worth of roads. We're going to do over 5 miles this year. That's been a really great success story in Newburyport. We're hoping to break ground on a new fire station that has been decades in the making. Really will be a benefit to our residents and also a safety benefit to our firefighters. We have 2 big park expansion projects going on in Newburyport that really bookend our downtown. We have the Market Landing Park, which many of you are probably familiar with. That's where our boardwalk and beautiful park is in downtown Newburyport. And we also have the Bartlett Mall, which is one of the oldest parks around our historic courthouse in Newburyport. Those projects that we're moving forward with Community Preservation Act funds And we're really excited for those projects to get going this year. We also have secured funding for our bulkhead project, which is literally holding our waterfront up. And it's been a long overdue project. It really jumped up my priority list once I took office. We were able to secure the $5.5 million of funding through federal and state grants. So there'll be no money that will be needed from the locality, which is great. Another big priority in Newburyport is that we're trying to build a rec center. Our Newburyport Youth Services has been without a home for over a year now. This project that we're trying to work on is a reuse of an old building, a National Guard building, which is right across the street from our middle school. So we're excited to get that project rolling this year. Through a housing choice grant, the One Stop for Growth program, the city right now is working on an economic development strategic plan. We're working with Carl Simon out of MIT and Civic Moxie. And this was something that was talked about during the campaign over a year ago, but something I really wanted to bring into the city. I wanted us to have a comprehensive plan around economic development, whether that mean having a point person in City Hall, but I wanted to bring someone in to really provide us with an action plan that we can use moving forward with definite steps that we can take. So we're expecting to have that plan in the spring. This has been a great process to go through with our business community. A lot of stakeholders have been involved, and we're looking at things like climate action resiliency plan, regional workforce development, housing needs, which again I'll speak to some more in a second, arts and culture assets branding, and then a support system for our small businesses. So again, that has been a great process to go through. Like many of the communities in Massachusetts, we have a housing problem in Newburyport as well. How do we make Newburyport more affordable? We just don't have the units. We're about 85% developed in Newburyport, so we really have to be strategic about what kind of developments are coming into the city. In MBTA communities, the new regulations that have come down, we're trying to be creative as that as well. We have a 40R district in Newburyport around our train station. We have a couple great projects going on right now. We're partnering with Minco, as Andrew Flanagan mentioned earlier, with a development that they're doing in their community. But Minco has been in. They have 3 different projects going on that'll bring total over 300 units to Newburyport. One of them is already done. We have 2 more projects that are going to be getting underway. And a lot of that is, thinking of Newburyport as these pockets of villages. So like this MBTA community could be considered a village. We're working on our downtown. We have this waterfront west parcel that New England Development currently owns. It's an 8-acre parcel. We were hoping to advance that this year. Earlier this year, I had formed an advisory group that had worked on putting together a term sheet that we have shared with New England Development, and that term sheet has been shared, and we're looking forward to move forward in that process, but we're hoping for a wonderful mixed-use development for that area, hopefully a hotel that will really complete our downtown waterfront area. But that, again, that would be another village, and then we also have our Story Ave commercial-based village that we're working on. There's a couple other housing programs that are talked about going in that area as well. So this idea of creating these villages where people can live and travel and walk by foot to a lot of these amenities is something that we're working on here in Newburyport. We also have a Brown school, an old Brown school that's been out of I think my daughter was the last kindergarten class back in 2013 in this building, so it's been sitting for a long time. Last year, the heat finally went in the building, so that we had to move our youth services out of that building, but we're looking to reuse that building for some affordable housing as well. I'd like to see senior affordable housing there, maybe some community space, but we're going through that process right now with our community and with our city council, so we're excited about that. And then we're also investing in trying to get a shovel-ready. The LG spoke earlier about all this one-time money that communities are going to be going for, and it's going to be very competitive. So in Newburyport, we're really trying to invest in the design process on a lot of these projects, like our Indian Hill Reservoir project to protect our water supply. So just try to get as many projects shovel-ready as possible, so that when this money does become available, that would Newburyport be in a great position to go after it. And just finally, I'll just close with, I like the call to action that my colleague Mayor Gove mentioned, but I also mentioned going through this economic development strategic plan process, your voice and your knowledge and your talent is just so important for municipalities. And I think going through this process and hearing from the stakeholders and a lot of different businesses in the community have really helped us think of new ideas and think of outside the box of how we move our communities forward. So I just would encourage you, just whatever cities or towns that you live in or work in, get involved and give that information. If you have ideas, send it along to the leaders in your communities, because that's how things get moving, right? It's having that conversation and thinking of those different ways that we can all help. And so I think that's a great thing for our business community to do. And come visit Newburyport soon. There's a lot going on here. We have a beautiful community. It's a great place to live and work, and I just hope to see you all there soon. Have a great year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Reardon. The North Andover Town Manager, Melissa Murphy Rodriguez, and Lowell City Manager, Tom Golden, send their regrets. They were unable to attend today. Lawrence Mayor Brian DePena, who's doing a fantastic job, also had a scheduling conflict, and Joe's going to mention a few words on behalf of the Lawrence Mayor. So, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, Mayor DePena regrets that he's unable to be here due to a last-minute schedule conflict, as the mayor and Chairman Sullivan noted. But Octavian Spainer and the Chief Vice Squires are both here in respect for the mayor's office. And the mayor wanted to acknowledge the chamber's work with the mayor's administration and economic development efforts. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. We also want to recognize the North Andover Town Manager and the Lowell Manager in terms of the work that we do together. I want to give you some quick updates, and first, thank you to all the mayors and the town managers. You can see the importance of this breakfast program is the fact that we work together. And we work together with the private sector, and that's why things get done. We're very, very pleased and honored that the Lieutenant Governor was here today. I think that shows the start of a very, very positive working relationship. I was with the governor the other day in Boston. We look forward to the governor being here, and obviously the new secretaries that have been appointed will be coming here as well. I want to give you 3 quick questions. First of all, recognize a former mayor. His name is Kevin Sullivan with the city of Lawrence. You can judge which one did the best job. I want to tell you something about upcoming events. The Merrimack Valley Chamber has the absolute best program of government affairs with business working together. Congress members, you know what's happening in Washington. We'll be here February 13th in this room with both members of Congress. And then the Senate, the state senators will be here on March 3rd. And we're working together for a date for the state representatives. We haven't confirmed that one yet. I also want to mention you met several of the police chiefs. You met the district attorney. The chamber will have its annual program on public safety. That is not yet scheduled. But I just want to say thank you to all of you. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to the mayors and the town managers. And I want you, and I say this continually, this is not the only time that we see the mayors and the town managers. I can't tell you how many times we're working together with their office, with their economic development office, or with them themselves in terms of activities, because we meet hand in hand on economic development initiatives. And there are a number of initiatives that are going on right now in each of these communities, and I want to say thank you, because one thing that has happened is that if they can't host a particular business in their community, they work with the abutting community to keep them here in the Merrimack Valley, and they deserve a round of applause for that. And I want to echo something that the other mayors have said, and that is, get involved. The Merrimack Valley Chamber is actively involved in the tourism hospitality program. Mayor Gove is a member of the North of Boston CVB program along with me and others. We are involved now in a program called the Shoulder Season Promotion. If something in your community is happening that would be of interest to visitors, particularly within a 50-mile radius, we want to know that, because we're going to be able to help promote that at no cost to that location. Something brand new, you haven't heard a lot about that, but the Chamber is coordinating with the North of Boston Community Invention Business Bureau, as well as Merrimack Valley CVB. And so if something's happening, what they call the shoulder season, the off-season, we want to bring visitors here and make sure that happens. So please let us know. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to our chairman of the board, the former mayor of the city of Lawrence, Michael Sullivan. And most importantly, thank you to all of you for coming out on a wet day. I know that hopefully it's not snowing right now, but please be safe going back, and thank you for coming out. We look forward to seeing you at the next program, whether it be women in business, young people in business, expos, minority business, that goes on and on and on. Thank you all. Thank you to the mayors and managers. Have a great day. And thank you, Barney at the Doubletree.